All right, so another week, another episode, and I say this probably I've said this probably what 6 or 7 times, but this episode literally could have been 2 episodes. This felt like a 45-minute episode stuffed into 23 minutes, and I mean that in a good way because everything just flew by. This episode just felt like it flowed so well, but it felt like there was so much detail in there that I'm probably going to have to watch this back 2 or 3 times. Now, for these reviews, I just like to watch it one time and then, talk about it, for my review for the first time I see the episode. But I literally might go back and watch this throughout the week 2 or 3 times just to see if I missed any details because we start this episode off with the funeral and these two Cerebrians, I guess... They're I don't want to say like royalty, but they're like kind of like higher up on the podium for Cerebrians as my guess. They're kind of like a leader or something. And we see I'm gonna say Don Purple. I can't pronounce it. Don Purple delivers the body of Shonai to them, and basically says, or they tell him, hey, like you can get any wish you want. What do you want? And he essentially says, I want to be free of you guys because I don't want to, be part of this anymore, which part of whatever, we don't know what. But then they're like, well, you haven't matured and, you're not educated and stuff like we are, so, I don't know why you want that. But he Don Purple just books it, so it's like, whatever, I'm out of here. So he goes out and we get this little scene with... one of the little minions. I don't know what the minions are called, but one of the little minions. Oh no, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I forgot this scene because it's a quick scene. Before that there was this quick scene of Toro at work eating a sandwich, and he gets this holographic message to come to the funeral and whatnot because he slayed Shonai, and so he bites into it and. Because they put it in the sauce, and this comes back. He talks about it later on in the episode, but they put it in this with sauce and all this other stuff that's inside of his sandwich and whatever. So he goes to the team and says, "Hey, like I got this message, and I'm gonna go to the funeral." So he takes off. He gets teleported there. He doesn't take off because they bring him right there. Because apparently they were listening in, and as soon as he was talking about the was it the council? I believe is what he said. He gets teleported right there to a bath that he starts to get ready for the funeral and whatnot. So then we get this little minion, which again there's a bunch of them around. I don't know if it's just Japan or the world in this series, but one of the little minions, a bestial finds, and then we get the bestial attacking the minion, and then the Don Purple saves the minion, and just as they're about to fight. Sixth Ranger shows up and says, hey, I want to know who you are. I want to know what's going on. So they start the fight as the bestial gets away. And then the bestial decides, you know what? I'm going to come back and attack you guys while you're both fighting each other, which is kind of smart. So, I should say the Sixth Ranger became Don Tiger and then turned his back and untransformed because he didn't want to fight Don Purple. So he was untransformed when the bestial came back and attacked. But Don Purple one shot. And it's just a stab through the chest. And one shot's the bestial. So we find out after many episodes of the Cerebrians, the humans, the Don clan, nothing can touch these bestials. We find out Don Purple can one shot them. Which I think that's insane. It's, oh my god. And we're only 5 minutes into the episode, and that all this has happened. And so they get talking about kind of their past and whatnot, because we get more information on the Six Rangers' past in the village, and we find out that the tiger within him was originally his original form, and then he got basically kind of attached and fused, or whatever you want to say, with I can't remember the human's name. Whatever the human's name is for the Sixth Ranger. I can't remember his name. So then again, they kind of got fused and whatnot, and became two beings in one, essentially. And they have this flashback of him as a kid. They're playing. I've never heard of this game, so maybe it's probably not an American game because I've never heard of this game. But basically, there's four kids that hold hands in a circle around this one kid that's kind of bent down. I think he covers his ears or something like that. And they kind of spin around, and the kid's got to figure out who is behind him or who has some item. I don't know. It was weird. I've never heard of this game. I don't know what it's called. I'll probably look it up afterwards. But he guessed right, and the way they framed this is it was the Don Tiger inside him helping to figure out which of the kid was behind him or had the item or whatever. So again, I don't know that game. I've never never heard of it, never seen it, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. So then we get back in the present, whatever. After the flashback, we go back and Don Purple finally tells someone, which I guess the Cerebrians probably knew, maybe, I don't know. Basically tells Six Ranger, like, hey, like, I got two people inside of me too. It's like, it's what's up, mother? Or not? He's like, isn't that right, mother? And Six Ranger can't hear, but he just kind of sits there and kind of listens and whatnot as they talk for a second. So then they start to kind of get more in depth about stuff when the monster of the week attacks, and between the flashback and them sitting there and talking, the monster of the week essentially is this guy that tells his employees, like, hey, you're going 5,000 miles an hour, you're not slowing down, we gotta go, 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 go. And he transforms, sucks one of the guys into him, absorbs him as energy or something like that, and then starts running around attacking people. So that's when we see they're on top of this bridge thing, and they look down and see the monster there because they hear the screaming. So they get down there. There's this scene where as they're going down, Don Pink, Don Yellow, and Don Blue all pop around the monster, literally right next to him. Just all around. And so they all freak each other out because they're sitting there like, oh my god, like, you're right there. So the monster kicks Don Pink away, and then the other two kind of get into it, and then Don Pink gets back into it too. So I laughed at that. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. So then we get the fight happens, and then we go back to Toro and how he's abusing these poor people. I feel so bad. He's tells them, hey, like, the bath water's not hot enough. He's offered a massage. He gets a massage and whatnot, and says, hey, like, that's, you gotta push harder and whatnot. So he pulls the guy off him and just boom, and just starts jamming his elbow into the guy's back. I'm like, oh my god, and just laughs maniacally. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Oh. And then he gets food, and I don't know if it's supposed to be cotton candy. Obviously, it looks like cotton candy. I don't know if they ever called it something else, but I'm going to call it cotton candy unless it's, because again, it's Cerebrian food. So unless it's supposed to be like clouds, or I don't know. I'm going to call it cotton candy because that's exactly what it was. It's what it looked like. So he starts to eat it, and these women that brought out these big, like, they're all over this table, full of cotton candy. And these women ask, like, hey, like, how does it taste? He goes, tastes like nothing, but because you offered it to me, I'm going to eat it. So, I mean, technically, I guess, I mean, it really only tastes like sugar, so I guess it doesn't really taste like anything. So I guess he's right there. So then we hop over to Don Black real quick, who is on the run from the ex-cop, who, again, we found out last episode, quit, who, again, is the bestial, and he's run away from that. And so all of a sudden, Don Purple, who got tired during the fighting of the Monster of the Week, the sword flies away, ends up going to Don Black, who I think he caught the sword before it hit the ground, and he gets possessed by it, and essentially starts to fight the bestial, and he cuts him on his cheek. And the Beast's like, oh god, like I gotta get out of here, and runs away. And then we see Mio, Natsumi, the bestial, her bestial shows up and's like, hey, like that's where's this guy? Like we're supposed to be fighting him. And then she turns and sees Don Black, which again they don't know because again he's possessed. She's in her bestial mind, I guess, in her human form. So they start the fight and whatnot. She actually does this really cool technique where she flies up in the air and just sends all these origami cranes at Don Black, who with the power of the sword, just cuts them all up and just says like, hey, like, that's the best you got. So then she gets out of there as the other two Cerebrians, the evil white and the evil brown or orange or whatever. I still have not looked it up. Start the fight. Don Black and says, hey, like, this isn't you. This isn't your fighting style. What's going on? So Don White, the evil White Ranger knocks the sword out of Don Black's hands. She ends up getting the sword in her hands, gets possessed, starts the fight. The other Cerebrian, as Don Black's basically laying on the ground or up against a shipment of boxes, confused, exhausted, doesn't know what happened to him. So they Cerebrians go out and fight, and that's when we get the scene of the Monster of the Week, and the Cerebrians are fighting in the same area. So then finally the Cerebrians, the evil brown, I'm gonna say brown, orange, whatever, knocks the sword away, gets it over. Don Blue's like, hey, they're gone. I don't know what they were doing with this, so I'm gonna use it. Grabs it and knocks him out of his transformed form back to his base state, human state, whatever. He goes and attacks everyone. The monster, the other DonBrothers there, just starts swinging at everyone. Sixth Ranger appears because the Monster of the Week tries to run away. So then we get that. Then we cut back to Don Red, who finally goes, after abusing these servants and whatnot, finally goes, sees the casket, which Shonai is in, starts to, pay his respects and whatnot, and the two people in the console are like talking to him, and they said something about I forget what it was, and he declined. It said something like, are you here for a wish or something like that because you beat Shonai, so we'll give you powers, something along the lines. I forget that line they had, but he's like, no, I don't care about that. I'm just here to pay my respects and all that. So then he does that, and then he's like, I got a question for you guys, though. How stupid are you to put a invitation inside a sandwich? And he goes, well, because you fed me, because I'm full, you guys are eating the sandwich, and tosses it up there. So the Cerebrians, they take turns. The two people on the console start taking turns to eat it. Don Red's like, hey, like, you gotta enjoy it. Don't just chow it down. Enjoy it. So they start doing that because they kind of take turns eating the sandwich. Then Don Red's like, okay, well, I'm done here. I'm gonna just leave, go away. And that's when the console's like, okay, on to the final stage. And we see, I don't know if it's like supposed to be like a shield or like a chest plate or something, kind of rises up out of Shonai, transforms into basically his transformed evil Blue Ranger state, and starts fighting Don Red. So he gets into a fight, cuts off the head, and realizes like, hey, like, it's just a puppet. Like, there's no soul in there. There's nothing in there. So the puppet puts its head back on, and then Don Red slices it through the chest. Or it's coming this way because the sword's coming this way, and I hope this gets expanded upon because essentially the I guess no, not so, but like the shell or whatever you want to call it of like the body of the transformed state kind of absorbs all of Don Red's powers. So he can't transform anymore, and he gets knocked out, and he's weakened and whatnot. So I'm hoping they explain it. I guess that's how they bring him back, because we see after Don Red gets transported back to the Earth and whatnot, they somehow turn into this liquid inside the shell of the the shell of the transformed state, and they just pour the liquid over the casket. They open it up. which is already was open for Don Red to see. They just pour it in there, and that's how Shonai comes back to life. So I'm hoping we get something explained. Like, is Don Red immortal? Like, I don't know, because I don't know how he has the power to bring people back to life, or at least the energy inside of him does. So I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see. Hopefully we'll see where that goes, and it's not just some weird BS explanation. So then Don Red gets transported back, and Don Pink and Don Yellow are able to knock the sword out of Don Blue's hands, which goes flying by Don Red. Don Red's like, hey, well, I gotta get in there, this monster of the week. He can't transform, so then he's like, that's an interesting sword. He grabs it. This man transforms with the sword and just, absorbs the power. He got all his power back that he just lost 2 seconds ago. So I guess it affects Earthling, but it even affects the Cerebrians differently than it does the Don clan. So I don't know. I just throw my hands up in the air for this one. I guess probably he was made by the Don clan. The Don Purple was probably made by the Don clan. So that's probably why they can regenerate their powers from the sword or whatever. So he's not affected. He's not under possessed, controlled. So he one-shots the monster of the week. He uses these grappling things that attach to the arms and the legs of the monster, pulls them and just goes, cut! Just boom! And we're going right to the monster. But before that, we get this scene where the sword in his hand is going fight, fight, fight. And he's just like, screw you! Just tosses the sword and just laughs. I'm like, holy crap, dude. Oh my god. There's so much info in this one episode. It's like, what the? They could have split this up. Instead of having a bunch of filler episodes, which I have a feeling we're probably coming up to that, or, in the past, maybe cut out a filler episode. This could have been 2 different episodes because there's so much info in here. So we get the transform. They do the Super Mega Ultra Megazord, whatever it's called. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it. I got a screenshot of it in my last video. So if you want to go see the name of it and try to pronounce it yourself, it's in the last video towards the end. Just like all Megazord battles are. So they essentially one shot or 2 shot the monster of the week. That's transformed, or I guess boosted up in size and whatnot. And yeah, I don't think there's anything. I think that's how the episode ended. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else in there. Maybe I'm missing something. If I forgot something, when I'm going through editing this video, maybe I'll I'll put something at the end here if I forgot. But okay, so real quick, there was actually probably 5-second scene at the very end where the Cerebrians come back to the sword and actually seal it up with manga panels or something, I guess. So that is in there, and we see in the preview too, they actually are going to use that power to unseal the sword to basically beat the bestials, and then they'll seal it back up. So that was in there. I forgot that because we go from the Megazord fight to that 5-second thing, and then we're getting a million things for the preview next week. So I forgot that was in there. So now let's get back to it, and we'll discuss the preview. Then we get to the post-credit scene. This looks insane. This looks like we're going to get another bunch of info just thrown right at us. Because we're going to have the Cerebrians, the 2 that are left, team up with the DonBrothers. Natsumi, Mio, whatever, is back. She's fighting a bunch of probably bestials. Obviously, we don't see them transformed, and there's a split second of it. We see Don Black, almost like he's, I don't know, seen Natsumi or Mio or something, but obviously we only see his perspective. So there's so much in this trailer breakdown that every single second it's like, what was that? What is this? What is that? What is that? Again, this episode and maybe next episode, it could all just be expanded upon. If these were 45-minute episodes, which again they're not gonna do, but I'd be like, yes, give me all this info. Or stop doing filler episodes and give me all this info instead. So I'm excited for next week. That looks really fun, really interesting. And yeah, I'm going to wrap up there. It's already almost a 20-minute video. It's going to be a nightmare to edit. So for now, like the video, share the video around. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm out of here. Peace.